It is technically a majority for Centerville Road 2, but you're saying not with as big a gap between the agree or
Yeah,
disagree.
like they're both good. Like I would say they're both good concepts, but one just was a little bit.
Again, sorry.
Okay, we'll pick up where we at then. We're on paragraph 2, talking about the additional highlighted section. Right before the Canton Lane future considerations.
Where are we? Oh,
So that
Right
would be-
before the Canton Lane future considerations. I guess it's 31 for us,
It's for the highlighted.
the highlighted area.
yeah.
And I did get a note written down from last time. It said add a statement that there may be issues that alter the designs, like the renewed lease for trap, future golf course, fields, trails, etc. before golf course expanded. So I think that's what we were talking about.
I remember that now.
So it's more
There's some
these are
things-
placeholders. Things might not be there.
Yeah,
kind of-
unknowns.
yeah. So we can get Good thing I got that written down. So I'll get that. But the rest of that paragraph fairly good, and just add that bottom part.
I think so. I think that's what we came to last time.
I think we've agreed that that one's good. It's for planning purposes, and it is the most desired, but it doesn't tie our hands.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
All right. So then moving on, this is where, like these next sections for the future considerations, we kind of started breaking down the actual like aspects of each development. So what I started on, especially for the multi-use fields, was breaking down the difference between synthetic turf fields and natural grass fields. I feel like it's very common to get people to come out and say, why don't you just put turf in and all the problems will be solved? But it's not that easy. So,
It's very expensive, too.
yeah, it's expensive, and a lot of people think that the maintenance costs are lower, and they can be, but there's so many different variables that I highlight further, is like how much rain do you get, what's the actual use. So if this area got inches upon inches of rain and it was and the field was being used daily, then yeah, it might make sense to put in turf. But there's not that much rain.
Why is more rain better for turf?
So more rain would be worse for natural grass because it would be torn up all the time.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So if you think of Oregon, Washington, like they all have turf because they wouldn't be able to play.
Okay.
And so they're like moving on to my page 31, your page 32. Found some really good information actually from the government of Western Australia, talking about the different concerns between natural grass and synthetic fields. So just kind of more information and put in there for the planning purpose of trying to decide which type of surface to do. I mean, I think I know that it will be natural grass, but it's good to have that in there to
Well,
show
somebody
people.
will bring it up.
Yeah.
And we have some firsthand experience with the Kendrick Field in Helena. They just went to turf. And this is their second season on turf, so they probably could give us good insight on that too.
Right.
The Legion Ball Field up there, Kendrick. But looks really cool, but I'm not sure it's held
probably
up
not
like
worth
they
it,
thought
no.
it was. I don't know. But
If we put it on the fields over there by the golf course, the whole idea was to put the fields there was if the golf course does expand, we can just, there's no big deal. If we got all new turf over there, that would be.
Yeah, but I don't think anyone's gonna put fields over there with that gun club there.
It's so dangerous.
Like, I think people just, I think people will,
Really?
yeah, I mean, I felt like that was, it seemed like, based on the comments, there was, and I get it, like, I understand it, like, you know, they're not out there every day, but I could see, okay, somebody's gonna go out shooting trap and there's kids on fields and people are just gonna freak. So, I don't know that we would even,
well, and that's
Worry about it.
what
There.
happened with Rossiter School on Sierra Road, behind that trap
Yeah.
range there. Even though he's plenty far away, it's just the thought of the weapons being fired in that direction.
Yeah.
That was
It's
a
pretty bad
controversy
perception.
for many years.
Mm-hmm.
so it's just interesting, like, it's really having rod or gun in that safety zone, it's either a plan with it or a plan without it.
Well, it's basically the trap portion of the rod and gun. The indoor is fine,
Correct.
but it's the
indoor isn't
trap
an issue,
portion
but
Yeah.
that poses the difficulty in selling this to the public.
very much
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, the golfers, I mean, you guys don't mind getting shot at.
Yeah.
You could be
They're
like-
far enough out there, and they got trees to hide behind.
Yeah, right.
Well, and that's another thing you have to keep in mind too, because on one of these plans, they have the baseball field bordering the golf course. Everybody hitting on hole number 2 hits it out of bounds, and the people on the baseball field are in jeopardy.
Yeah.
So it's. you
And
gotta-
vice versa, foul balls and stuff going
Yeah,
in there. Yeah, it's
exactly.
they're
It's too close of a.
yeah. And I've seen a lot of ball fields where they install some pretty hefty nets to try to save it, and it doesn't do the trick all the time. And same with the driving range and golf course. It's-
Yeah,
yeah,
you look at the new fencing they're putting up at Bill Roberts Golf Course
yeah. It's
for theirs.
Yeah,
And
it's
that's
all-
not even residential. I mean, my mother gets at least 40 or 50 golf balls in her backyard on the Sun Valley golf courses there. And she's not allowed to put anything up higher than 4 feet because golfers are allowed to come in people's residential yards to retrieve the balls. But, yeah, she's had a few hit the window, but she has pretty good windows. But those are concerns when we have kids out there and softball, baseballs versus golf balls.
spectators
And
sitting there and
spectators.
watching. Yeah,
Yeah.
So-
definitely. I got on my page 32, added a good table that I found that kind of details. It was from Iowa State University. Details the cost of turf grass versus synthetic fields. The interesting thing that you'll notice is that it's from 2008, so all those costs, I mean, tack on quite a bit more. So keep that in mind. The next page, kind of going over baseball and softball fields, just kind of tried to keep it as high level as possible about what it would take to actually build a baseball and softball field, and kind of try to list some of the items that are required. It's definitely a lot more than people think, but when we're adding these costs and trying to figure it out, and you'll see it later when we have like our like cost improvement table. We try to be as realistic as possible, but you can do things about as cheap as you want. It just might not be very good. But like I know for a fact up in Big Fork, they just community funded a brand new high school baseball field, and I think it was a lot cheaper than what we had put in here into this plan. And I think that was all privately donated, but it's pretty bare bones. I mean, it just looks kind of like a little league field, chain link fence, the field, and that's about it. So we're kind of planned it for a little bit more, just to be on the safe side. So if we ever do get to development, all of a sudden things aren't like crazy expensive. We're like, oh, we only planned for $200,000 and it's $1 million. So kind of tried to do the same thing with soccer and football fields. And
Okay.
you'll see the picture that I added here, just as an example of a good multi-use field, is from out in Oregon. That's the one I think I've talked to the board about in the past, but I love the design. I think it's such a great use of space. This is on page 35, and I envision if we ever did get to the development stage, that it would be something like that to maximize, and we kind of did take that into consideration in the design portion. So let's see, you got golf course expansion. Definitely talked about that, and I think I got all the major issues that we talked about with Commissioner Swenson. So mainly, it sounds like obviously cost is going to be the big thing for a golf course expansion, but I think it sounds like one of the issues is water, where one half of that property is not in the irrigation district, and so there's no water. So for a golf course, that's going to be
Wasn't there something figured out about that, though? I thought someone said something about the.
I haven't
Water
heard the
irrigation.
final of it, but that dirt road between the golf course and the field, Centerville Lane, the water rights come up to that road, and I've heard both, that the water rights do extend over there, and I've heard that they don't. So I don't know which one is true. But golf course, baseball field, if the baseball field that's there right now is using a well from the gun in the Rod and Gun Club, I don't know the answer to where that water's coming, if it could be over there or not.
Nicole, we just put a new pump in that, didn't we?
Yeah, Connors Field, Madam Chair, sorry if you'd like me to
That's
respond.
okay.
Connors Field did have a well drilled 2 summers ago.
Independent
Specifically- yeah,
of,
specifically for Connors Field.
right.
Yeah. I mean, not to say it couldn't
And we
be used
put a
for
pretty,
something else,
pretty extensive pump system in that well for Connors
But
Field.
were the water rights for that county? Does the county own the water
but
rights?
County owns water rights, yeah, it's an exempt well. With potable water.
When was that, Nicole? Last year?
With potable water.
Okay.
So do you know if the Rod and Gun Club has bathrooms that are functioning? They do
They do.
have a
It does.
sewer?
Yeah, they have water, sewer, yeah, their kitchen facilities, their restroom.
Okay.
Yeah, so they have water independent of this new well that we just, I want to say we put it in 2 years ago. It was prior, yeah, it was Commissioner Delger was commissioner at the time, and you
Yes.
have been commissioner, this is your third year, is that correct? Okay.
So 3 years ago.
3 years ago, I'm sorry, yeah.
That's when, 3 years ago is when,
Mhm.
okay. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so that wouldn't be just an issue for the golf course. If we put anything on that side, water's gonna be an issue.
Yes.
Fields, all that stuff, so.
I think that's who, excuse me, sorry, Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes.
Is that the ditch, is there a ditch district? It's a ditch district right there, isn't it, that has the water rights?
The one that runs along the golf course, and I think they have 4 shares of water rights for the golf course.
Thank you, sorry to interrupt.
I could be wrong on that, but
Okay.
We can do a little bit more digging and get that added. That should be pretty
Yeah.
easy. Let's see, open space, natural areas, kind of what we had talked about, adding walking trails, but keeping the area open and kind of essentially would be reserving it in case that the golf course does expand. Instead of putting, that was, I think, what led to one of our concepts is didn't invest in putting all these fields there and then the golf course expands. So that's kind of the gist of that one. Winter recreation. So we actually never talked about it. I added this in on my own. And so we can cut it if you'd like, but it's not uncommon. I don't know necessarily how much snow falls around here, but it's not uncommon for open space and parks areas to get used for cross-country skiing or anything
I
like that.
cross-country skied the golf course this winter.
yeah.
It was really deep.
So there's definitely,
But that's like once every 4 winters, there's enough snow
yeah.
here.
Well, and so that I just kind of put in because if every now and then it seems to gain in popularity and people want actual groomed trails and all that stuff, and it definitely is a cost. And I don't think I put it in the improvements area, but it's just another user group for the winter if it does go through and it's an open space. It might be a little bit difficult to cross country ski on, but people can do it. So if you like it, we can leave it. If not, we can cut it out. Not a big deal.
No, I think it's good.
Try to keep it pretty general, just
Doesn't hurt anything.
just some information.
Yeah, noxious weed control, so, yeah.
Yeah. So next one that I definitely wanted to put in there, especially with the idea of multi-sports complex, but storage facilities, so like sheds, anything like that. I feel like that often gets overlooked in the grand scheme of planning, and so you decide to do a multi-use facility, and then no one has a plan for where all the equipment needs to be housed. So wanted to make sure that gets put in there because that's, as we all know, that's pretty costly to put up a shop building basically. So something to keep in mind.
The big soccer ball in
Yeah.
Helena.
Yep.
No, that's right.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so the size of your font, okay, because you have winter recreation, really large font. Then you talk about
Yeah.
storage facilities, then you go back to Centerville future for the multi-use.
Yeah,
So
so
is that-
that's multi-use sports courts. The
Okay,
formatting
gotcha.
needs to be fixed.
Okay,
Probably move to the next page.
Okay, so the storage facilities can be either one, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of figure we could add it to both, but I kind of feel like that's redundancy, especially if they're about the same.
Okay,
So Centerville, talked about multi sports courts like we had discussed, and we're in the design workshop. So added a picture there. I think this is another thing that I think I talked about in the pass, but the picture that I got below is from a company called Musco Lighting, and it's called a soccer mini pitch, and they can make them as multi-use as anybody wants. So I just thought it was a really good example of what it could be. So this is one that's pickleball and soccer. It has lights, but it's not like we need to do lights. But I think it's good to keep in there, so if anybody from the public starts looking at the plan, they can actually like wrap their mind around what it would look like on the ground. So
Good picture, yep.
yeah, yeah, and I've seen some where you got basketball hoops on the outside, tennis court, like tennis net in there. But it's kind of similar to the fields. I think that's exactly the way that it probably needs to go in order to save money for the county in terms of development. Now, with that being said, I know that certain user groups probably won't like it. I know that they're trying to do this in Great Falls right now, and the pickleball group is not happy. They want their own court, so there might be some concessions that have to be made at some point, but I don't. Developments like these are so hard because you're not going to please everybody, so it's probably
comes down to who's paying for it.
Yeah, that's true.
Honestly.
It's kind of the easiest way to do it, I guess, is just try to help everybody out. Dog park, kind of break down a little bit of the information, of what it takes, like kind of the rough estimate of the size of what's needed for a dog park. Doesn't have to be that big, or it doesn't have to look like be a half acre or anything like that, but those are kind of just rules of thumb. One thing I did recently learn is that, and I probably should put this in here, but most dog parks, I guess, need to be designed with curved corners instead of like sharp corners to avoid dogs cornering other dogs and attacking them. I had no idea. It makes total sense. So everybody can have an out. And yeah, so that the picture that I added in there, I actually found randomly on Google. That was from Joplin, Missouri. I
The
just
big
loved
dog
it. I'm
bone?
like, that's a perfect dog park.
Yeah.
Got it.
So
Have you been to the one in Bozeman?
I haven't.
Oh, it's so have you anybody been to that one? Oh, it's
No, I have a dog now.
yeah. It's huge. It's a huge dog park, and it's right in the center. They've got like the sledding hill. It's a huge park. I wanna
Wow.
say it's a 100-acre park or
Oh, wow.
something. Like,
I've
it's
walked through
big.
the one in Helena that has the small dog, large dog sections.
That one's good,
Paws Park, or whatever they call that one.
And that's a good
On
one. Is it the one with the
Centennial.
cinder? Yeah. So I like that idea instead of putting in natural turf grass. They have grass in Great Falls, and they have to replace the sod every year, and it takes about 3 weeks. And I don't even know how much that cost. Versus in Helena, with it being cinder, you don't
Right.
have to replace anything. I think it's
Plus
much
a little
better
more absorbent than
Yeah.
grass.
I think it's a much better idea, but I definitely think I like the idea of a dog park being at Centerville, because then to me it seems like when you're getting the user groups to come, you're getting the entire family to come to the park, because they can bring their dog and watch their kids and do everything, and I think it's a good idea.
I think that cinder's less likely to have the fleas and ticks too
Yeah, yeah.
than the grass.
And what else are you gonna do at that end of the property in the floodplain? Really?
Yeah, not a
Yeah.
whole lot for development down there, so.
Well, we wouldn't really want to put anything that would be terribly permanent that could sink or
Right.
change with the,
Yeah, rust, floodwaters, anything like that. So the next one we got biking and walking paths, and so this is where I want to take a second to talk. This is where I want to talk about the trails plan. So Jerry and I talked, and we thought maybe Al Christofferson would have come here tonight to kind of talk about it a little bit, but obviously he's not here. I think now that it's like in draft form and will hopefully be adopted, we probably need to make a connection between the two documents in here, because they are going to work together pretty seamlessly as things get going. So
you want me to forward those to you? I have them on my phone.
I have a copy.
have the-
Yeah,
the
Al sent it
10
to
chapters?
Jerry, and
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
And I haven't had the chance to actually like read it because it's pretty big. But I guess this is a good chance to ask for it. Do you want it added as a section on its own, or like a subsection under here, just talking about the trails plan and maybe some of the goals from the trails plan, and then connecting it back into needing walking and bike paths? Or I guess how would you like to see that get incorporated, if you want to see it
I think you
incorporated?
could have an Appendix A and do a summarization of the trails plan that Al has to do on the front of the trails plan anyway. He has to do a summarization. And I think if we were to put, you have your great information here, and then for further look at the proposed county trails plan in Appendix A. And that way, when Al gets it done, he can give you the updates each time, and you can add it in however it works. That would be my suggestion, if that would.
I do think it's good to mention in here, yes, the appendix. I like the idea of the appendix. I do think it's good to mention, because should someone, I don't know, 5 years down the road be looking at this, then you have that connection back to it too. It's not like, well, who the heck was working on the, we knew some people were doing trail stuff at one point, and then at least you have a reference point back to who was doing that, who's responsible.
I like the idea of it being in there too, because I think you're gonna find security issues, safety issues, and that's gonna be number one priority before you start building baseball fields and soccer fields, if you can't get there safely.
Well, especially the kids.
Yeah, and I think we want to make sure that any proposed paths on these properties can connect back in.
Right.
Because if we don't cooperate, and all of a sudden, you got one that comes out here and one that's over here, that's just not going to work, right?
Right,
So-
the interconnectivity of the
Yeah.
plans. Same with the fairgrounds plan with the trails to come to town.
Yep.
Our trails plan, that's the second priority. The first is getting over the Missouri River, and the second is getting to the fairgrounds.
Yeah, it's really like any planning document should really mesh. They don't always, but
Well, and if they reference each other, then somebody has an easy access to get to it, or at least
Exactly.
look at it and say, okay, let me go find Al, or go find somebody that was on that board.
Yep.
It definitely needs to be in there.
yeah, so we can get that added. Perfect. The next big section moving on is kind of we start breaking down different trail and path types. So we added concrete, asphalt, and then gravel and crushed. And so kind of what I took this from is we had actually just completed a couple different trails plans. We completed one for Glendive, and then we completed one for Big Timber. And so I just kind of used what they had already prepared and just kind of took it out. And this is very, very summarized of what each trail path would be like in terms of maintenance, aesthetics, accessibility, and all that. And then kind of showed a little like the cost. I just put dollar signs in there because it's so hard.
Restaurant costing.
Yeah,
1, 2,
it's
or
really
3.
hard to
Yeah.
figure that out because we would have to have a pretty concrete plan of how many linear feet we would be doing. So, but at least generally, like obviously the gravel is going to be a lot cheaper than doing any other surface. So, the big thing on there is going to be ADA compliance. So that's going to come into the plan.
Do you address that at all in here? Because I don't see it on any of your talks here, on your tables themselves about ADA.
So I got accessibility in the playground facility. Couple, but that might be, I might need to.
You might
add
want
a
to
little
just
bit more
add a
in.
little bit on the accessibility, obviously, in your accessibility column, maybe just
Yeah, for
mention
trails.
ADA, just so that they know we've looked at it. And they don't mind, ADA, they don't mind the gravel paths as long as they're not mushy gravel. I mean, the
Yeah.
the
So I'll just
stuff
come
we
down to
get
the
f-
regular maintenance and.
Well, the stuff we get from Graymont can be rock hard when it's dry. That's what I've used for my driveway for 28 years, and it's as good as pavement.
The trail that goes out to Indian Creek, that's an asphalt trail.
Yes.
It looks like it's holding up pretty well. I'm sure it's not perfect, but I don't know. Is there a lot of maintenance? Does anyone know if there's a lot of maintenance done on that?
No, I think they actually plow it too. I think they've kept it plowed.
It seems like it
some
holds
people
up
along the community.
really well.
Yeah. The challenge with asphalt that it constantly has to be compacted. But I think it's, as far as degradation, I don't even know that we've ever put even a sealant on it along that roadway.
It is starting to crack. You can see the weeds are starting to come up in the cracks.
In some
I
spots.
did notice that.
How
Okay.
old is it? How old is that trail?
Who? Beth Eiley put that in, did she?
Carol
Is-
would know.
Yeah, Carol Hatfield.
15
Yeah,
years
she would know.
or more.
Well, and then the question, the other suggestion that Al was looking at too, is when they go to redo the road up here and make this 4-lane, that maybe we could get the millings or the asphalt from that and put down on some of the trails that we're proposing, or even the silos area, and put those millings or asphalt on that. But in any case, I would
Add
just
some
put a little statement of
grading.
ADA friendly or ADA challenging.
That on all three of them. Perfect. Can do. All right. So then the next one, rec center and aquatic center. We had it in the concept, so it's worth putting in there. That's going to be a tough one in the long run, but it's still good to have in there.
There's a lot of people who have spoke of it.
Yeah.
There's
Oh, yeah.
lots of comments on it. It's,
Yeah.
it's just very spendy.
Yep.
So it's gonna be-
Yeah, and everybody knows, like, pools are tough.
know.
Did they take
suck.
out
Money
the
and
big
money.
main aquatic center in Great Falls that was off of Central? It was,
said the
it was
one-
around 13th, 14th.
Oh, yeah.
That one's
that
gone.
one
Carroll
completely.
College took theirs out.
Yeah.
They
And now
are
we
very
have,
expensive.
Great Falls has the new rec center,
Right.
and there's already been quite a few issues. They're working out. It's only been a year.
They put
Well,
a
that
pool
chlorine
in
is
there.
very
What's that?
They
degrading.
put a pool in there.
Yeah.
And it's what did you say?
Oh, and Great Falls has a brand
Yeah.
new rec center that was funded by the DoD.
Yeah.
That's probably the only reason that it's there, but
Right, of course.
some issues are arising
Already.
already. It's been a year. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, we had planned the one on base to have a swimming pool. And we even built the base course for it stuff, and we turned it in, left it not filled or anything because we didn't get enough money to put the full pumping systems and stuff, so they made it into a weight room temporarily, but they don't believe they're ever going to be able to get enough money to turn it into the swimming pool that was originally poured and designed for.
Yeah.
So,
And unfortunately, in this session too, there was a bill for grant funding for public pools, but it failed, which is a bummer because that would have helped out a lot of communities. But
So then you get looking at like YMCA and different things like that. And I know Adam Six had looked into that for quite a while.
I actually, Carol and I went down to the Y and Dylan and visited with them, and he flat out said the swimming pools do not even pay for themselves. You're going to operate in the red with a swimming pool,
yeah,
Crazy.
tough.
which is unfortunate and sad because that's what everybody wants, and the kids, and we need that. We live by a lake. People need to
Live on a
have
river.
lessons.
Live, yeah.
They need to have those swim. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's.
And I don't know how long this pool is for the world. I mean, it's already
had issues.
struggling. You know, it's pretty outdated. They just, yeah. So. Yeah.
So, kind of, yeah, got a little bit in there
Okay.
about the the initial cost and everything. And next one that got in there is recreational programming. So this one we got some comments on programming and having events, but also kind of difficult because it's my understanding there's not an actual parks department, right?
Correct.
So so there you got staffing costs, equipment costs, all that stuff. So, but it came up a lot, so it's something to keep in there. It is desired, and pulled a little bit from a study from the National Parks and Rec Association. Of course, they're all for it. So, then moving on, we got a little bit of playground facility information. So, talk a little bit about like different features and trying to incorporate natural features and through the planning process, and just added a nice little image of an ADA playground, and then kind of broke it down further into different sections. So drainage, accessibility, different materials, playground zones for different ages, soils, exposure. That was one that I guess I had never really thought of until I started doing some research on here, like kids getting the classic metal slide and you burn yourself on it in August, like things like that, considering in your planning and design.
Well,
of the
that stuff
playground.
we grew up on and
I was
didn't
gonna say
care.
nobody cared. That was the issue.
It was something to play on that was better than cactus.
Right.
Yeah, and now the materials like nice, soft places for kids to land. When
Now
they
you
fall
get the
off.
static electricity though on all their plastic
Yeah, you do.
slides. So you go
Their
down the
hair
slide,
goes
you get off, and and you touch
Yeah.
something, it shocks you.
So I tried to put a table in there to kind of
Okay.
touch a little bit about the pros and cons of different material types and whether or not they're durable or low maintenance, high maintenance. So pretty general information. And then moving on to the next page, quite a bit about parking. I tried to break down and analyze the soccer facility in Great Falls and try to get like a pretty good idea of how many parking spots they have for their size of a sports complex. And so I came to the conclusion they had 446 parking spaces. I had to count every single one
No way.
by hand on
my
Google.
gosh.
In 22 ADA parking spaces. That was really what I was trying to see, is how many ADA spots they had per parking spot. And so I thought that was kind of eye-opening. But the difference with that is their parking lot's totally asphalted and landscaped and everything. And so it's kind of another one of those things like talking about the fields where you can go as expensive or as cheap as you want. You want just a gravel parking lot? People
Yeah,
park
you
wherever.
look at the ones over by the airport in Helena,
Yeah,
and it's all dirt.
yeah. And
People are
the
just
same.
parking on the dirt and the field grass, and it works.
And it was the same in Billings. Billings just recently started the asphalting all of their stuff and getting it all set up, and so it just depends on what's wanted. So if trying to go with like an actual regional multi-use sports facility, might need to actually asphalt it and get it set up, something to handle, because then you got traffic concerns and angry people trying to get out. So just try to consider that. I figured that 30 to 40 spots could be sufficient at Centerville.
Yeah.
And then I went probably overboard, but I said 100, 150 spots at Canton Lane. And I was kind of going off of the assumption that it was asphalted and you actually had your individual spots. So that could change. And then obviously, like we know, if it's gravel, it depends on what vehicles people are driving. A lot of big trucks that are going to take up multiple spots. Surfacing, that's all kind of same thing. Going to be really important in the design and construction of their parking lots. So tried to put a little bit in there on that. And a little bit about maintenance. Mainly what I had was periodic grading and pothole reduction for dirt surfacing. And if it's asphalted, obviously you're going to have to do a little bit of work every now and then. But
Boulders are real good for stopping people from parking too close to the
yeah, that's true.
grass. But, the other option of this too is just to pave or concrete the ADA
Yeah.
slots, the first row, and make those ADA. And that kind of gives you a hybrid parking lot, but it also cuts your cost for having to try to match that with paving for the rest of the lot.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Didn't have that in there. I'll get that added. Let's see, safety and security. So just kind of tried to touch on some of the issues that might be seen, and we're talking mainly graffiti, vandalism, acts like that. Like, are there going to be floodlights there? What's going to be done to reduce that kind of risk? So, mainly because it's a public investment, and you don't want people destroying it. That's kind of mainly the gist of that whole section.
And after talking, sorry, Madam Chair, after talking with Nick way back when we first started talking about doing stuff out there, with Sheriff Rouser, he had said, yes, we would want some type of lighting out there.
He did say lighting, but he said minimal lighting because he said bright lighting actually encourages more people to
You
use it
don't
at
want, you don't
night.
want to bring everybody out at night, but you also need something so it's not just dark and problematic.
I
So-
think the orientation of your restrooms and entrances so they're visible from the street helps the cops to be able to put their spotlights in there and see if the door's been jarred open or
Yeah.
Yeah.
if somebody's hanging out in there. So,
Yeah, and mainly going to be restrooms. That's kind of what.
as we found already over at Holloway Park with our restroom over there.
Yeah. The big thing with the rest would probably just be graffiti. People do that all the time. It's unfortunate,
Well,
but
starting fires in the toilets,
yeah, not good.
trying to spray paint, yeah.
Yeah. Next, like kind of getting down towards the end, sustainability, operations, and maintenance. So just kind of talked about other ways to be sustainable and like in the design. So site design, stormwater management, which I got a good example of a picture of a bioswale that landscaped, looks nice, would fit into a park. Also takes care of stormwater because that's the last thing that you want to have happen is stormwater undermine a lot of the investments as well. Maintaining and improving the wetlands and riparian areas. We do have a floodplain there, so basically saying kind of stay out of here essentially when it comes to development. Maintenance, xeriscaping or native low water plant species, anything to cut down costs. Mulching mowers to suppress weeds, put nutrients back into the soil, things like that. Waste reduction, recycling bins, trash bins, all that good stuff.
Madam Chair, if I may, waste reduction is, that's going to be a fun conversation because who's picking up the trash?
Yeah, that's gonna be hard. I don't know if at this point do we want to try to put anything in there. I would say probably not.
Well, we also
Because-
talked about the small bear-resistant containers that people can't throw a huge, 30-gallon trash bag into. And then I like the dog owners thing. That works pretty well, too. I'm not sure we do any recycling in this county. I'm not sure if that would be anything that we would
We can cut that.
address right
We
now.
can't just because it's too expensive.
How about instead of
Right.
recycling, we just say trash
Ridiculous.
bins? Change that to trash bins, just general.
Ask people if they want to pay
Provide
some more money. for trash.
bear-resistant
Bear-resistant,
trash
yeah.
bins. I'm sorry, what?
So ask people if they want to pay some more money for trash. Let's see how that goes over.
See how many more couches you find on the back alleyways.
Yeah.
Indian Creek is a bunch. Then they burn them.
Yeah, because we have some firebugs in the community
Yeah.
that like to see fire and see things burn, so.
Then to round it out, you guys have already seen this because came from the open house. Our cost estimate, potential improvement costs table, pretty much the same as what we had because I don't think anything else that came up we hadn't already planned for necessarily. And then same with the funding options. So funding options, we tried to specifically call out certain grants, and then we did put in tax options, but probably not likely at this
Not
point.
right now.
Yeah. but still a good thing to have in there just to know what's in the back
Absolutely.
pocket. So
Yeah, I see your little statement, there are additional taxing options to help facilitate funding of park improvement projects.
yeah, those are they can do it. The county can do it, but it's gonna.
A few of
that would
those
be some
options
heavy
can be
lifting.
found in the table below.
He's laughing.
I know the state statutes allow you to do it, but, okay.
Yeah, it's hard. Those are gonna be hard, but it's
I'm
still
just
worth
wondering if,
putting
I
in.
mean, I'm just wondering if it's worth the headache to even put those statements in here. In that table on the last
Under funding
page.
options.
Yeah, on the
Okay,
very bottom,
okay.
and then the table's on that page about additional special tax options.
I think it's worth having there.
I do too.
Think it's
I do
okay to
too.
put it in?
Yeah,
All right,
because it makes people think about all your avenues and.
okay.
I mean, people are going to be upset about. I mean, you saw it.
I did.
There was one in here that was. And we got enough. We pay enough taxes.
Yeah.
Plenty of public lands to play on. We don't need more taxes.
Yeah.
Which I get. Like, people are frustrated. I mean, there's some changes coming down the pipeline, like this next tax year. I don't think it's going to be dramatic, but better is better. There's a little bit of a shift, but
Yeah.
it's there. It's in the plan. It's there for down the road.
Yeah, and that's what I think the most important is maybe that is an option in 10 years. This
Yeah.
plan hasn't been redone. It's maybe not right now, but in the future. That's why it's planning. And then last page, just to kind of summarize couple different little implementation techniques like prioritizing projects, annual focus, call back to sustainability, and then maintenance expansion. Just very very brief little items, kind of summaries of what can be done to implement items from this plan. So, and then sources, and that is it.
So unlike this one, you're not actually going to have an appendix with the survey results. I mean, that we had the appendix 2 with survey results. So we're not going to put any of these comments attached to this document.
Up to you guys. We can add.
That's a suggestion. I just don't know if, I mean, it became very helpful for people to actually look at some of the comments, highlights of the survey.
I think it'd be good as an appendix in there, because then it just backs up our earlier statements of what we did on our community outreach.
Which one? Since we did a couple different, so we did 2 different rounds of the public survey, and then we did the concept survey.
So is
Do we
this
add
all
of them?
the comments that we've received compiled into this document right here?
This is just, it's just concepts, isn't it? Doesn't it say at the top?
I think that's just the concept one. That is
Comments
not
on
the,
these, on the concepts.
those are not the first 2 iterations of the survey.
I would think just the concepts.
I would too. I mean,
Yeah.
we got the most responses on that, didn't we?
Yeah, I
Than
think
anything
so.
else?
I mean, those are the ones that are actually in the
Good point.
report saying they like this concept better, so
Yeah.
I'd say just the concept one.
But I would make sure that you include the whole comment, because some of these are cut off on the
Oh, are they?
bottom
Oh.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot
I can get
of
that
them are
fixed.
cut off.
That was
They're
the
cut
Excel.
off, so, yeah, make
Okay.
sure they're typed into a document that'll fit. But I think having this, like you said, having this one right here backs us up.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
And with the 200 some respondents we got, that's plus these comments.
And they're interesting comments.
They are.
It's nice to hear what other people think.
Yeah.
And I think other people would like to see.
Well, I think it's good. It's such a variety too. Like
Yeah.
You've got the people that are absolutely like, there's forest land, go find it and use it, all the way to, we need a pool, we need a recreation center, we need to fund this, we need to make this happen. So it just shows people that there's a lot of different.
Yeah, you wouldn't get this person, don't put a shooting range anywhere near my kids' sports complexes. Well, and that's why Centerville afforded a great opportunity to do that.
Yep.
The only thing we didn't address in here was the golf course that I know that we had talked about, but that's something you can always put on the Canton Lane one too, later on. I mean, in the
Do you want to add it to the future considerations? Because I can do just like
future
a super,
consideration, which is in, yeah,
like a super
a
short.
9-hole golf course. Have any of you ever walked the golf course at Makoshika? Oh, it's amazing. They actually go up on the formations at the front entrance of Makoshika, the big dirt towers and stuff. They actually have the Frisbee up on top, the baskets on top.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
And then the leadoff pad is formation to formation, but sometimes they hide the hole, the basket down in the canyon, and you have to go around all the formations.
Oh, that's cool.
It's pretty amazing. We had a lot of fun. We didn't play it, we just walked it. And it was pretty interesting. It's 18-hole, and it is a professional certified golf course.
Wow.
So down at Makoshika.
And we had discussed that
Geraldine.
about Canton with the lack of, challenges out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think it's fine to put one in there, because even at Wadsworth they have one and it's flat out there.
But you can still always put dirt and
Oh, yeah.
culverts and that kind of stuff in there to,
Yeah.
like you do for a BMX course. Usually you find flat land and add your dirt to it.
If you throw a Frisbee like me, flat is just as hard as.
Yeah, no kidding.
Nice job, Kevin.
Well, thank
You
you.
did a
Yes,
great
thank you.
job. Thank you.
So I guess one last thing before we leave is next steps.
Yeah.
So I'll get these edits done and sent back out to you guys for review. And do we want to make that last chance to get comments out? Do you want to wait till the next meeting and go over it? I don't need to be there. You can go over it one last time yourselves.
Well, we would still have to adopt it and recommend it for approval
To
from
go
the
to-
commissioners.
yep.
So,
I'd like to review it. Once you get the edits done, I'd like to review it one more time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And just find and send out then
Yeah.
last second comments if you have any.
Yeah.
And that works for me. So when do we want to buy next meeting? 'Cause I
yeah,
think that's
when's
I think
our
that's
next
total.
meeting is June 16th. June 16th. I didn't bring my phone in. Sorry.
So June 16th. So
I
then
leave that
then
Monday. I'm going
They
to
get
Mom's.
recommend approval, goes to the commission, resolution of intent,
Mhm.
then 30-day comment period. Is that right? Or 15?
No less than 15, no more than 30. So, yeah, somewhere
15,
in that
somewhere
sweet
in
spot.
there.
Yeah, I leave
15
on
to
that
30.
Monday
So we're looking
morning.
at around August.
So
For
Parks and
adoption?
Rec would approve.
They would make a recommendation.
So then
to the
Dirk would be
commissioners to
standing in
adopt
for
it.
me
Okay.
on June 16th.
As far as that, right now, yes, I'm
I've
here.
got, that's my trip down to Mom again.
It's the day
so-
after Father's Day, isn't it? That's Sunday, Father's Day?
The 15th
Yeah.
is, yeah. You going to be around the 16th?
Yeah, I
Okay.
should be around.
Are you the vice chair? I forgot. I should look on.
Yeah,
Probably on.
I was, they all turned one direction and there's no one there.
He's the
I
coach.
had no one to
Oh,
turn to.
you're the coach. You were like, you
That's
looked,
the
just kept
bad
looking
thing,
down the
sending
line.
this in.
It's
You
like,
go to turn to the look to
Yeah.
someone.
Well, now,
Okay, so-
now you can do stuff like, oh,
And the next
which
one
member
is
isn't
when?
here? We
the
select
next
them.
Monday is the 21st.
23rd.
I need to
won't
write
be
that
here
down.
June 16th. I'm going to be in Pittsburgh.
So we have two of us that will not be here for June 16th.
So as long as you have the other three.
Mike, Carol, and
Jen, you'll probably just have
Dirk.
to send out a request to see who else is going to be here.
right, we'll have to do that, and then we may, the 21st is the next Monday, June 20, or 23rd, June 23rd.
And I could be at that one.
Do that one.
And I can be at that one no. Yes, I can be there. I'm up in Calgary. The month of June is crazy. I come home and I have quick turnarounds to get to different parts of this country plus other countries. But the 23rd should be good. So do we want to go ahead and just, so the 16th was the third Monday of the month?
That's correct.
Do we want to
You can, I'm sorry.
make a motion to amend that to June 23rd?
I don't even think you need a motion. I think you can just say we're going to have our meeting on this day.
Okay.
If it works for everybody.
I didn't know because, I mean, we typically have it on the third Monday that people kind of plan for that, but if we,
Well, I could make a motion that we move our meeting to the 23rd so that we have adequate
coverage or
Coverage.
average quorum.
So we could have a quorum for
Okay.
sure.
All right. Motion made,
Second.
second. Okay, motion made, seconded. Any further discussion on the 23rd?
Yeah, Madam Chair, do you want me here for that? I don't think I need to be.
I
I'm
think
actually
we're
gonna be
good,
in
Kevin.
Boise. I
You
can
did
zoom
such
in,
a
but-
thorough job on this one. I think if we just do the edits and then shoot it out before the meeting, at least a week
I
in
think
advance.
these are pretty simple edits. I think I could get them sent
Okay.
out by the end of the week,
Okay,
honestly. So look for those
Super.
on like Friday,
all right,
if not sooner.
Yeah, that'll work.
okay.
That'll give Mike and Carol a little bit more time to look at it too. So
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you much, Kevin.
Yeah,
Thank you for coming down.
everybody.
Thank you so much.
All right, it is 7:30. Do we want to continue with quickly on these other topics? Nicole, would you like to give a quick update on the vault toilet?
Be very quick because I have nothing to report.
Okay,
I have not called, but I emailed my contact there a couple of times, and I just checked actually sitting here just in case, but no response. I
Okay.
will actually call now.
all right. I will give the update for the trails, and we are in the polishing stages of the draft. We have 10 chapters, and he has sent it out for each of the Trails Committee folks to review, but other than that, I have nothing to report else on that one. Strategic planning with the city. My quick discussion with our mayor ended up in a not only no, but a blank no on doing the trail over the new water line coming from the water tower. Because it was a maintenance concern, and we didn't have time to discuss what maintenance, whether it was the maintenance of the pipeline or the access manhole boxes they're putting out there, or if it's trucks going in to try to maintain the trail that are going to damage something. don't know, but from what I understand, there's also another group in town that is looking at trying to convince the Department of Transportation as well as the city to have that graded flat or leave it as it is and have it as an informal trail out to the fairgrounds for now. So there's a couple different entities working on it, not just the Trails Group and not just with the plan from the fairgrounds, but we'll update you on that when we get some more information. But the city, currently, the city mayor does not want us to even think about putting anything on that new water line. But I see the big trucks that they're driving over the pipe, so I know it's not going to be a vehicle issue. Youth involvement on the board. I have no update on that one. I did not ask any
That
kids.
was, wasn't that Mike? Mike
I think so.
brought that up, which I think it's a great idea if you had like a high school liaison on the Parks and Rec board. But I don't know what we would need to do.
Well, they
You're
have
connected
NHS
to-
community requirements, community time requirements. Maybe we grab one of their NHS kids that's looking to be an engineer or looking to have some, that's been here a while, that maybe has some.
Just
But
making sure I have that.
Anyway, I'll leave that one up to Mike.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea.
Okay, any new business to come before the board? Any new business to come before the board?
No.
Any new business to come before the board? I'm going to ask the 3 times. Okay, any action items for the next meeting? All I would ask is that when we get the master plan, take a look at it, make sure the edits that we've asked him to do are good and comprehensive, and check the document with it, and then we'll talk with Mike and see if he can get some youth. I think that one's on his plate. I'll take the trails and the strategic planning with the city. And that was the only one I asked them about. Let me go back to that one on number 7C. I did go to the hearing on the, what do they call it? Where they take the right of way, or they take the variance on the 20-foot setback rules for an individual. And I just did an overall comment to the city. It said, what are you planning for? You keep allowing people to do these variances and encroach on the areas that typically would be set aside for sidewalks, curbs, and gutters. And they were concerned, I mean, they'd kind of already approved it anyway informally, but they were concerned with sight distances for motor vehicles. And I said, what about safety and sight distances for chain link fences on the actual edge of the sidewalk, and dogs and kids and especially some of our elderly? You cannot walk 2 people side by side on a 4-foot sidewalk with a wall or a fence. It's not comfortable. And they appreciated the comments. There were several other people there, and they will take it under consideration. They were looking at specific roadways where they might want to continue sidewalks. And that, I think, we'll look at. I told that to Al, mentioned that to Al as well, that the city already has ideas on what they want to do for any additional sidewalks. So, other than that, any comments from anyone on the floor? Next meeting, June 23rd. Adjourn. Wow.